Hey, welcome to the Razzle Dazzle Show, a podcast where we talk about our favorite video games and all things pop culture with an emphasis on our favorites. I'm your host, Jared, and our guest today is PokeKellz. Kellz is a Twitch streamer, voice actress, and registered veterinary technician who emerged on the internet as host of both the Pokemon YouTube show, The National Dex, as well as one of the largest Pokemon fan podcasts, the Dex Podcast. Kellz has lent their voice to numerous animated projects for Shut Up Cartoons, and voices Trishula in the recently released indie game, Elsie, by Night Shift Games. Kellz was recommended to be a guest on the show by previous guest, Alex Fasciani. Please let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Razzle Dazzle Show, on TikTok at Razzle_Dazzle_Show, on Blue Sky at Raz-Show-Pod, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Raz_Daz_Pod. And with all that being said,
it's Razzle Dazzle time!
Hello, Kelly. Thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?
If I was doing any better, I'd have to hire somebody to help me enjoy it. Thank you for asking.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's good. That's a raving review. I'm so glad things are so good for you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I only say that when I mean it, you know. So I don't take that lightly. A lot of people say like, "Oh, is that rehearsed or whatever?" I'm like, kinda. Just because I say it so often doesn't mean like I don't mean it. You know what I mean?
Sure, of course.
Yeah. Well, a quick Kickstarter question I have for you: If Smitty was a Pokemon, what type would he be?
Oh my gosh, what a good question. Smitty's my dog. He's an Australian cattle dog. He's high energy. He is high alert. He's a rescue, and he's working on being a little bit more trusting and a little bit more. He definitely barks first and asks questions later. I say, well, if he was a Pokemon type, he would absolutely be a fire type.
Okay, awesome.
A little spicy boy, but he tries his best. He tries hard. He's I would say in looks he's more like a Boltund, but in personality he's fire type all the way.
Understood. All right. Well, let's start at the beginning, right? Can you tell me, where did you grow up, and how would you describe the musical background of your childhood?
Well, this is fun because I grew up in Orange County, and Orange County has a huge punk scene. Mm-hmm. Even though I can't say that I'm super well versed in like the punk scene, I did go to a ton of concerts when I was in high school with my friends. A couple of my friends were in bands, and a couple of my friends actually, their bands got quite large. One of the bands that I would go to see all the time was a band called the Jakes, and they eventually turned into the band Young the Giant. So Orange County is kind of a strange place. I grew up specifically in Irvine, which is a city that's run by a company, which is a weird situation. It's a very, very safe city. It's one of the safest cities in the United States. So it was a great place for a child to grow up, but unfortunately, when your city's run by a company, it is at the expense of a lot of culture. And so a lot of people say about Irvine is that it's a great place to grow up and raise your kids, but if you want to have any sort of nightlife or any sort of fun stuff, you leave Irvine and go other places to go do that. And so that's kind of like how it was. So yeah, I grew up in Irvine. I went to a lot of these shows with like alternative rock and edging into punk and things like that when I was younger. And but most of those things were in other cities within Orange County, Santa Ana, like Laguna Beach, places like that. But yeah, I think that's kind of like my big background with that sort of that sort of thing. I was really when I was growing up, I was really anti-cool, if you know what I mean, like anti-trends. I was really trying to be. I had definitely more of a emo punk goth streak, but I was a little bit less confident in going full ham on that. But I was really against pop music. I was like, no NSYNC, no, even though I know every word to all their songs, of course. No NSYNC, no Backstreet Boys, never, no way. I like all these indie bands, no one will ever know. But of course, what that meant for me was other extremely popular bands like the Killers and Franz Ferdinand and things like that. So I think that's kind of where I got most of my music. Most of my music experience was actually through my sister, because my sister's 3 years older than me, and so she would find things, and we used to watch MTV together, and we would record on videotapes the music videos and stuff. And we would also do that with the radio too, on cassette tapes. We would like listen, and then we would, on the radio, we would, because you didn't know what song was coming up next, we would just like start the recording. And if it was not a song that we wanted, we would stop it and back it up and like go back to and wait for a song that we wanted. And that's how we would create our own mixtapes, which honestly has like a great charm to it that you don't really see anymore, because there's not that, you know, if you want to listen to a song, you just look it up on the internet and it's right there for you. And so I think that like I really enjoyed that time in my life, because it was a little bit more, you had to kind of like work to find the things that you needed, and like once you had it, like you had this cool mixtape that had all these cool songs on it, and people would be like, can I borrow that? And you'd be like, no, you got to give it back for sure, you can't, or like, you know, like it's harder to make a copy, harder to share, that kind of stuff. So it was a little bit more it was almost a little bit more like a little bit more like interactive as a hobby, I think, which I really enjoyed. And, you know, things have changed. Obviously, the access to music that we have now is like, you know, pretty phenomenal on most fronts. But there is something to that, like, you know, like going out and being like, shoot, I missed the beginning of the song. It's like, okay, this mixtape is good, but it's missing the beginning of, you know, whatever, what I can't even think of a song name now, but yeah, it's this, the new Killer song. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the beginning of it, like that kind of stuff. So that was kind of like my musical background.
Oh my God. I love that so much. God, that sounds like so much fun though. You know, it's just like a collective live experience of constantly hitting shuffle every time you turn on the radio. I love that so much.
And I still like listening to radio today. I know they have like a lot, like I think that a lot of people like will gravitate more towards like things like Spotify and things that are more customizable, but I really like just kind of like turning on whatever's on and listening to it and being like, cool, because that's how you find really cool music, and then that's how you also listen to things that you maybe would never hear before or elsewhere, and then and then every once in a while you get I can't tell you how many jingles are burned into my memory because of just listening to them over and over on the radio.
Jingles as in like promo ads or commercials, or like
800-588-2300 Empire, Albertsons, it's your store, like all of it. All burned in here, taking up a lot of mental space.
I cannot not remember. I always remember the Elvis Duran in the morning show. Like that whole bit, like, God, man, just because that was always on whenever I was going to school.
Yeah,
it does.
Absolutely. It sticks with you.
Did you have any instruments in the household growing up?
Yeah. So I when I was in, what was it? Must have been 3rd grade. I wanted to play the violin, and I was not great at the violin. In fact, like it was very clear that I was the worst one in the very small group that was doing it. And so I kind of got discouraged with that. And I was like, I don't want to play violin anymore. And so I went into chorus instead. And we had at my house one of those Yamaha keyboards, like a cheapy one that has like a lot of the presets and stuff. You can click the buttons and it would be like, like bird song or whatever. And I don't have formal training in keyboard, but I had enough to create dumb, silly songs with the presets that I would sing along to. And like, you know, like, or like my sister and I, of course, we would, I have a brother too, but my sister and I were very close. We always shared a room. And so like, we would always like make these like scenes and like do like the background music, and like, we would mostly create stories and stuff with the keyboard. And so I don't have I have one now, a keyboard now, and I'm trying a little bit more to kind of like get a little more chops in that regard. There's a couple songs that I can play that I'm like, yeah, I'm a genius, but really that stuff's hard. It takes quite a long time. But most of my musical experience comes with voice and chorus and musical theater as well.
Oh, okay. When did you start taking, was it like classes in school, or was it like individual extracurricular stuff?
Most of it was in school. Yeah. Okay. My elementary school had like a mandatory music class. And so like, you know, after I was like, I don't want to do violin anymore, I was like, okay, let's do the chorus stuff. And so I did that for a little while. And then in middle school, they did offer a musical theater. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, okay. So I started doing that. And then when I got into high school, I was also pretty big into sports at the time. And I played softball for like almost 10 years. And somewhere like halfway between in my high school career, I was like, okay, sports is done. I'm all in on musical theater now. And so in high school, I was in chorus. I was in chorus, drama, and like after school musical theater, like the plays and things like that. all throughout high school, and I have a super deep love for musical theater, especially.
Awesome. I love that. Do you do any performances now?
No, not currently, actually. I did actually in high school. Oh, that was another thing. I totally forgot to mention this. This huge part of my life. Improv comedy. I started that in high school as well, and I continued that through college. Did that for another probably 10 to 12 years as well. Improv comedy was a huge thing in my life. That's where I met my husband, Alex, and that's where I met so many of the people that are my very close friends today. I really, truly do credit my improv team for most of my development as a human. It was really super important to me. And, within the improv team, we actually did have a show that was an improvised musical as well, which I was in the cast of. And that was just awesome. So currently I'm not doing anything, on a regular basis, but like I am always down.
Understood.
So anytime an opportunity comes up, I'm always like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll voice that. I'll sing that. Yeah. Put me on. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Do you remember the first band or musician that really got your attention when you were young?
Oh, this is going to be funny because the very first CD that I ever bought, my grandma took me to Tower Records and I picked out A-Teens, the ABBA Generation, which was a teen cover band of ABBA. I don't know why. You
didn't want to get ABBA specifically, no.
I know, right? I was like, no, I got to get the kids ABBA.
I don't like the mainstream pop stuff. I need to get this other version of the same songs.
But the first song I ever sung in karaoke was Dancing Queen. I am still a huge fan of ABBA. I love them. I love a little bit of schmaltz. I love a little bit of, I don't know. I guess people call it, I guess cringe. Yeah, I love a little bit of cringe. I embrace it fully. I think it's great. I love ABBA. I love I don't think Queen is like cringe, but like something that's a little just melodramatic, a little over the top. Can't get enough of it. So yeah, my first ever CD was A-Teens, the ABBA Generation. And then once I got over myself about like, I'm a kid, so only kid music, I actually listened to regular ABBA.
Understood. Awesome. Did you have any video game consoles growing up?
Yeah, so my neighbor had a Genesis, and that was my first like exposure to video games, I think. And then I didn't have an actual console until the N64, but before that I had a Game Boy. And I would say like for myself, I definitely consider myself more of a handheld game lover like than anything else. I play tons of games now. I have whatever, but yeah, Game Boy was my very first console, and then after that N64. And man, I definitely like have so many fond memories and nostalgic memories about the N64 games, especially. Yeah. And I think the first game that I ever had was Kirby's Dream Land. Just a classic. Played it hundreds of times. It's a short game. You can finish it in like an hour or so. But but yeah, that was my first exposure to video games, which is obviously huge aspect of my life, considering like where my career trajectory has gone and all that. So yeah. Game Boy was great. N64, and then the rest is history. Things kept going. Yeah.
And we'll get to that, but before that, this next question requires a bit of context. So I work at WGCU Public Media, NPR PBS station here in Southwest Florida, and we have this other show called 3 Song Stories, where we tell people's biography through music. The guests will come in, they pick 3 songs, and each of these songs, whenever they listen to it, takes them back to a specific moment in time that they have a significant story associated with it. It could be serious, it could be funny, it could be like super important to like who they are today or whatever, or completely ridiculous and just like a funny thing. I want to ask you, off the top of your head, do you have one song story you'd like to share?
Oh man, okay, this is very interesting. A song story. I can't say that it's gonna be like, I have a weird one, a funny one, but I can't say it's early on in my music career, but it's like, it's in there. I think that this happened to me sometime late high school time, but this always sticks out to me as just something really strange that happened, but like also like really neat. So I have a really deep interest in dreams and like the mechanisms of like how they happen and like why, like what our brains do when we're dreaming. Really, really neat. And so I always remember that I was listening to Ben Folds, and I was listening kind of like through it because my friend was really into Ben Folds. And so I was like, Elsie, I'll check him out. And so I was listening, and I fell asleep while I was listening to Ben Folds, and the song Army came on. And I hadn't heard this song before, but I was in a state where I could hear the song, but I was also dreaming at the same time. And I dreamed an entire music video to the song Army, complete with a misheard lyric that showed up in my dream as the misheard lyric, which I learned later was not the correct lyric. But I had this whole dream. Like playing out the events that he was singing about, all the way down to like the end of the song where it gets like a little bit rowdier. Like it turned into like a concert on the 101 freeway in Los Angeles in my dream. And it was like so neat because right after the song ended, I woke up and I was like, what on earth just happened? Because that was like, you know, like I said, a song that I'd never heard before, but my brain was listening to it, interpreting the lyrics and showing me relevant images at the same time as I was like inputting this new information. And that was just like one of the most interesting things that has ever happened to me, like dream and sleeping wise. It was probably something that like really cemented my interest for like what goes on when we dream, and that's that sort of thing. But I'll always remember it because like, you know, the lyrics are burned into my memory now. It's a great song. It's a bop. And then I still think of the misheard lyrics too. I think, let's see, what was it called? Okay, so the song lyric is citing artistic differences, the band broke up in May. But in my mind, I misheard it as signing artistic differences, and the image in the dream was somebody with a painting signing the bottom of it. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's a song. I mean, does it say anything about my life? Maybe not. Is it biographical?
That's a song story
Maybe not,
if I ever heard one.
It's a song story for sure. And yeah, it's something I'll never forget because it was really just like a weird, very interesting thing that happened.
How does that song fit into your life today?
I don't know. I sing it at karaoke sometimes.
Sing at karaoke. Do you tend to be a lucid dreamer?
You know what? That's a good question because the farthest I've ever gotten, actually, I had a dream recently where what was it? In the dream, I cannot control my dreams. I haven't been able to do that, even though I've tried. In a recent dream, I had something in a folder and in a bag. And in my dream, I was like, oh, I better, you know, it was a flyer for an improv class actually. And in my dream, I was like, I left the bag somewhere and I was like, I got to get that back because when I wake up, I'm going to need to check that bag and see and get to the class. And so on some level, I was aware that I was dreaming, but I was still unable to affect anything that was happening really in the dream. And so I don't know. I think that my suspension of disbelief is too strong and I'm just like ready to go for it. And so, yeah, so I've had maybe a couple moments where I've been aware that I am in a dream, but not enough to affect the outcome or change anything. Mostly just to be like, I think this is a dream, but that means that I'm going to need to do this, like, you know, that sort of thing.
I love that so much. I've read, that gamers tend to be able to lucid dream more often, I guess, than like non-gamers or whatever. And yeah. I know I've been able to lucid dream myself and control like whatever the situation is, and you know, it's more like a puppet show type of deal. Like I'm controlling my dream. Like, okay, yeah, this is happening. Let me try to make this happen instead. Mm-hmm. Okay, that happens.
Like a third person situation?
Kind of, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I have tried and I've like looked up articles on like how to do it better. But yeah, like I said, the closest I've got is awareness that I'm dreaming, but inability to affect anything around.
Yeah, interesting. and it's crazy that there's another level with music that you've never heard of. I feel like I've experienced that before, or have you ever like made up a song in your sleep, like in your dream, and like to you is like, this is an actually good, like an actual good original song. You wake up, forget everything about it.
Yeah, actually. Crazy. It's called Il Guana.
Yeah?
like Il Iguana. I remember like being at a concert and that it was like really like, I remember that there was like really like a lot of like cymbal rumbles, like psh, like it was really like one of those like the Beatles song, like pew, 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 like that kind of thing. I remember it was a song like that and I was like, this is a bop, and that the song was called Il Guana. And then I woke up and I was like, I don't know, it's not a real song, but you know, it was definitely a dream that I was like in the concert listening to that song, remember the name of the song and kind of the vibe, but nothing.
Maybe one day Iguana will shine again.
Maybe it will. Maybe it will.
All right, now let's let's shift gears, get onto your career a little bit. But right before that, I want to ask, what is your favorite Pokemon?
Okay, so a lot of the times this answer changes because I have there's actually like a painting that my sister made for me. She's a very good artist up here that has all of them on it.
All
but
of your
I have
favorites?
so many favorites. Yeah, and they just
Cool.
they interchange and they rotate out. But the general group is Furret, Ampharos, Whimsicott, and Gastrodon West Sea. All cuties, all little weirdos. Love that shit. But yeah, I would say those are my favorite Pokemon.
Understood. Have you made a team with them yet? I'm sure you have.
Yes, but unfortunately, some of them are not great in a
Yeah.
competitive sense. Furret doesn't really have any options, but it's just the cutest. Like you can't not. Furret is so cute. Furret is the best.
Yeah.
I have the 6 foot long life-size Furret plushie because
Yeah.
Furret is ridiculously like its size is like 5'11" for some reason. And yeah, I have the plushie that they released. I have like a shelf in my bedroom next door to this room,
Mhm.
and it's just like on there. And it's huge. It's enormous. It's a whole shelf dedicated to just the enormous Furret plushie because they won't fit anywhere else in this apartment for sure.
I would assume it'll be pretty good for sound insulation, soundproofing.
You know what? That's that's a
Squishmallows,
good
real
point.
talk. That Gengar right next to you.
Yeah.
You may or may not know this, but like Squishmallows are so great for insulation, for
That's
sound.
hilarious.
It is
Well,
like
he's doing his job then, huh?
he is. I have, thanks to my partner, I have dozens of Squishmallows, big,
Oh,
small, mini, right? And we don't have a lot of room to put them, so we end up stuffing them under the bed. And our cat loves going under the bed, of course. We recently just installed. We got this 3-way tunnel thing, right?
Oh, fun. Yeah.
And we put that under the bed so he has 2 spots. He's like the top left, like right under me, and bottom right under my partner's, like where her feet would be.
Mm-hmm.
Those are his 2 favorite spots to lay in at night. And all around that area, all around under the bed, Squishmallows stuffed in there. And
That's great.
there's been points where whenever I need to like get him for something, like put his collar on or whatever, I go under the bed and I'm like, oh my God, I can't hear anything. Like I can barely hear anything like on the TV or whatever. This is awesome. This is great. That's when I first discovered the power of Squishmallows for sound, right?
Mhm.
And we recently had like a fire alarm test go off in our building, and my cat would go like in the middle of the bed where the 2 largest Squishmallows are and just hide out there. And I'm like, that's smart, man. You're smart, dude.
They're so smart. Animals are wonderful. They're so smart.
So yeah, Squishmallows, great for soundproofing in case you guys, need to do that in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I'll
Um,
just wrap Furret around, like, it's 5 foot. It's almost 6 feet long, so I
Yeah.
probably could like enclose my entire self in a little ring of Furret.
Can you share the story of your first exposure to Pokemon? If I remember correctly, from my research, it was through the TCG.
Oh yeah, for sure. Our very good family friends, that we grew up actually like next door to. Actually, it's a funny story. Is my parents moved into their apartment, and across the street from them, their neighbors who were also newlyweds, like they met each other, and then they realized that their anniversary was the same date, and then they, both them and my parents had their first kids like within a year of one another, and so we grew up with them for ages. So I distinctly remember going over to my friend Caroline's house, and she takes me up to her bedroom. She's like, look at these, and she takes a box out from under her bed and there are Pokemon cards inside. And she hands me one, and the first one was Abra. That little Abra sitting next to the rock on the savannah with its little eyes closed. There's stars in the background, and I was like, I like this. I mean, I've always loved animals. Obviously, I'm very, very into animals. I love them. I love them. I've worked with animals for decades, and I have my registered veterinary technician's license. And I even worked for many years as an anesthetist, a surgical assistant and anesthetist for some big major surgeries on animals. But like, yeah, the concept of Pokemon, especially, and like Pokemon's mission statement is like, science is amazing. Animals / Pokemon are amazing creatures. We need to work with them. Like all of that stuff really hit right home for me. So like, I saw this Abra card and I was like, I like this. And so, then I start getting into the cards. It was banned at my elementary school. You weren't allowed to do it because people were getting too crazy over it. It was height of Pokemon fever, 1998, 1997. And then after that, I started watching the anime when it started to come out. It was literally, I'm not a morning person. It is literally the only thing that got me out of bed at a reasonable time. What I would do is I would set my clothes out the night before. I would sleep in to the last possible second before I had to leave for school. Put my clothes on, sleep in the car on the way to school, and then I'd be like, okay, fine, I'm awake now. But when Pokemon was on, I would get up the whole half an hour early to be able to watch Pokemon. So that started, and then my parents got us Pokemon Red, the Game Boy game, for me and my two siblings to share, which was not. I as soon as I realized there was only one save slot, I was like, I'm sorry, this is mine. And I think that kind of inadvertently squeezed out my siblings from enjoying video games until much later in their lives. I am definitely, of my three siblings, the one that is much more into video games. I do think that I inadvertently kind of like squished them out of the hobby because I was so obsessed with Pokemon. But that's okay, because we're all friends now. And now my brother played Tears of the Kingdom, and it's just the best. Yeah. I really love talking to my brother about video games specifically because he comes at it with fresh eyes. Like, I don't know anything about any of this. And so it's really fun. He plays Pokemon Go now. And so he'll like text me a picture of something and be like, what is this? And I'll be like, yes, that's Staraptor. And get to talk to him about like what it does, how it's good, etc. And so I love that. My sister plays a little bit more games now. She's actually really, really good at Jedi Survivor, which is not an easy game, but yeah, they kind of started doing more gaming a little bit later in life, and I think that was because of me and my inability to share.
I love that story so much. I listened to another podcast you did like 2021, like a few years ago, and you told that same story, and yeah, thank you for sharing that here. Did you have any pets growing up?
Yeah, we've had dogs for a really long time.
Yeah.
I got my first dog when I was 7. His name was Riley. And we adopted him. He was probably a little less than 1 year old when we adopted him. So he was a border collie mix, lots of energy, an escapist. So I remember a lot of things about Riley. The main things that I remember about him was getting on my rollerblades and putting him on the leash and just letting him go and
my God.
Drag me around the neighborhood. Amazing. I never had any really bad falls doing that, which is fantastic. My sister did though. And so yeah, I would just pretend like I was like a sled dog racer, and I would just be like, go, and he would just go because he is a border collie. He has unlimited energy, and so he would just go, and I would be like, yeah, like on my rollerblades. And then the other strong memory I have of him is screaming, crying, running after him to come back because he would bolt out the front door sometimes, and he would just run around in circles in the neighborhood because he was like, this is the funnest game ever, and then me being like, come back, no, he's running away. But yeah, wonderful dog. And then yeah, actually a lot of other pets came in and out of my life. I've had some parakeets. I had a box turtle, and I have had 2 snakes in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, throughout that, family dogs, my own dogs, and yeah, that's about that. No cats because my mom and my brother are severely allergic to them.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah, always accepting of pets and animals and things.
Understood. I'm gonna ask this just because I would like your input.
Sure.
Not too long ago, back in May 2024, I've had the creator and founder of Double Dagger Studios, who has made Little Kitty Big City, Matt Wood, on the show. And out of all the questions, I've asked him and all the things we talked about, there was one thing that kind of stumped us, and it was the first thing I asked. Is it making biscuits or making muffins? What do you think?
I think it's a regional thing.
In
California, where I'm at, we say muffins.
Oh.
Yeah, we do. We say making muffins. That's when they go. That's when they like do their little kneading of their it's they little squish their paws into the blanket. It's so cute. I really love cats. I would absolutely have a cat, and I've lived with a cat before after I wasn't living with my family. But yeah, like I said, couldn't have one because when I say really allergic, my brother has had to go to the hospital because of having a sleepover with his friend who had a cat.
Oh man!
So unfortunately, the level of allergy is such that I won't be able to have one of my own. But I do like them quite a lot. But yeah, I think it's a regional thing, and I think here in LA we say make muffins. Yeah.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, I've always known it as making biscuits. It's just an
funny.
interesting little thing.
Right. And well, you grew up on the East Coast side, right? Like Miami, you said?
Miami.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I do believe it's regional.
It's very cool. So you've always loved animals, clearly. Did you always know you wanted to be a vet or be like in that field?
I always, I had a couple things. When I was like younger and like they say like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would say either voice actress or whale trainer. However, now that I'm grown, I love whales. I don't want to be with them or swim with them or train them because I don't think that's ethical anymore.
Right.
But I don't, I respect ocean life, but I realized when I got older, I don't like being cold and I don't like swimming in the open ocean. So that kind of like put that out. But I think that I always did in some capacity want to work with animals in some way. And though I started in college as a musical theater major, I wasn't really satisfied by that, and I was looking for something that really kind of like fulfilled me more in a purposeful way. And so that's when I started RVT classes. And so my certification is registered veterinary technician. And so that basically, if I had to draw an equivalent to the human field, it would be like nurse practitioner. So I'm not a veterinarian, but I am a high level nurse of animals. Worked with a lot of different kinds of animals, some really cool ones, some really scary ones, and done a lot of like pretty wild things. And so I think that really got me so much like interesting knowledge. And I think that the thing that really kind of drove my passion for that was I really do see humans and animals as species that coexist on this planet.
Yeah.
Humans, I don't believe, are the dominant life form on Earth, right? I think that we're just another animal in this whole thing. And just because we can't understand the culture and the thought processes of other animals doesn't mean that they're lesser than us. It just means that they're different than us. And one day we're going to break that open and we're going to be like, oh, shoot, we've done a lot of awful things to you, when all the evidence points to animals having a level of sentience, almost all of them. And there's only some that we can test and confirm that with, like
dolphins,
dolphins, exactly, and dogs. And but the more we learn, the more we realize that is more like a commonality than an exception. And so I think that is kind of like, still to this day, is very much like part of my passion and mission, is to be able to like develop communication and educate people on like how we're much more alike than different, and how to read animal body language and realize what's going on. Something that like has always been a little bit of a pet peeve of mine is that I'll see videos, right? Memes are everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'll see these videos of animals and everyone will be like, look at this animal doing this thing. And I'm like, that's not what's happening. I know exactly what's happening because I've spent many years looking at the like behavior and body language of animals, and I'm like, no, that animal's not doing that thing. It's actually doing a different thing, and no good or bad judgment on that, but it's not correct, and that is always like irks me, and to the point where I have a couple of friends that will always send me things and be like, okay, what's wrong with this? And I'm like, okay, well, this animal is clearly doing this, and this, and like this is not. It doesn't actually like think that this is happening. It's like, so I and my bookshelf next to my bed is full of animal behavior and animal behavior and body language books. So another huge passion of mine. So yeah, I don't know. That's something I always like, just get really deep dive and passionate about.
Yeah.
Because they really do pick up on so much more than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
And they're way more adaptable than we give them credit for too.
Yeah, I agree. One of the first things that came to mind about the video bit and like seeing these things online, there's these household snakes that like, kind of flop around or whatever, do something like silly or stupid, or that's something that we comprehend as silly and stupid, and we're like, oh, it's quirky or whatever, but it's actually like, I of course, don't quote me and please, correct me. It's like through certain types of breeding or something, like it just has some problems with its brain or something. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that more. I don't know if I've seen these videos of the snake specifically, but I see it a lot. A lot of neurological problems are passed off as cute, and a lot of people don't realize. Actually, you know what? This is a great example. I was on Reddit, the best website in the world. That was extremely sarcastic, in case you did not pick that up. And somebody was like, look at my friend's cat. It has really cool eyes. And the cat had Horner's syndrome, which means that it's one of its pupils constricted and one of them was dilated, which usually is a sign of a neurological issue.
Like one big, one small?
One pupil large, one pupil small.
Oh man.
And so I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, it's got Horner's syndrome. I've seen that all the time in cats. They probably need to get that checked out, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like thinking about this while this person posted like, isn't this cool? So most people just don't know. And like, I think as a vet tech, it's very difficult. And I went out to dinner with a couple of my vet tech friends the other day. It is so difficult for us to see an animal out in the world and not immediately start to diagnose it. We were at a Korean barbecue restaurant. We were in front of the window. We saw a German Shepherd walking across the street, and all three of us were like, it's got hyperextension of the wrist. And then we were all like, stop. Everyone stop. No, it's just a cute dog. Stop. But like, once you start to see those things, it's really hard to unsee those things. And so I do have to like catch myself every once in a while and be like, stop diagnosing the animals, just enjoy them. They're just here for love.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, that's definitely something that I'm thinking about quite often.
Yeah, and I'm sure like that automatic diagnosis process is coming from a place of love, like, oh, I just want the best for this little baby, Yeah.
And then of course, though, you can't say it on the internet, even if you do have the knowledge, because everyone's like, what do you know? And you're like, well, I do know, I'm a vet tech. And they're like, you can't prove that. And you can't, unless I want to and I do not want to. My license is public record, but I do not want to share that because I don't want people on the internet to know my address or my full name and all that. So no, I'm not going to share that license information. So yeah, you can just believe that I'm lying. So it's a hard thing. The internet is a hard thing because everyone's an expert and no one can prove it.
And all this love for animals, like you've touched upon already, clearly translate into the world of Pokemon, talking about this sentience of these animals, of these creatures, that they, giving them the credit that that is due is right there for Pokemon. Like we know that there is some sentience, and like Pokemon is like the world of Pokemon is a world where like we are listening to these animals, to their needs, and we're actually catering for them. And the point of it is, or a point of it is to preserve them and to like help them out and like, treat them as we should. So
I think Pokemon especially really speaks to like a human animal bond, right?
Yeah.
And even more so than in the real world, because like you said, there is a definite level of sentience there. Some Pokemon speak human language.
Yeah.
Some of them speak to you in your mind. And so there's all throughout the years, like, I have been around in the world since Pokemon was created. Like I was 7 years old when Pokemon came out. I was right at that age. So pretty much every single Pokemon game and everything that has come out in regards to Pokemon, I was right the exact age for it. And so I still have a huge love for it. But yeah, I think that it really speaks to that concept of like cooperation and understanding with a creature that is not quite like you, but still has a level of selfness. Like, Pokemon throughout the years has gotten all sorts of flack, right? People compare it to like dogfighting, people compare it to like Satanism, people compare it to like all sorts of things. It's been it's been stretched and battered in as many ways as you possibly can.
Yep.
I've seen those drawings of Gardevoir, you know? But through it all, I think that the mission statement in Pokemon that is very apparent is that, like, yo, this is not non-consensual fighting, first of all.
Yeah.
It's like sport. It's sport. It is about the bond and treating them right. All of the villains in Pokemon, well, actually not all of the villains, but the villains in Pokemon, at least in the beginning, were using Pokemon cruelly, and everyone agreed that was bad, right?
Yeah.
And as things go on, they have to come up with new ways for it to be exciting and things like that. So you get all these other wild storylines. But like, especially Pokemon Black and White really went into that whole, is it right to be fighting Pokemon question, and they really addressed it in kind of like an interesting and practical way. And but I think that all that messaging when I was like younger and like through my adult life kind of just really cemented that respect for other creatures, and like making sure that there is like a level of understanding and consent to the interaction.
Yeah.
There's, I think one of the most meaningful posts that I ever saw about animals was my favorite animal behaviorist, Alexandra Horowitz. She's written a couple books on dog cognition, but one of the things is she talked about is like consent for petting. She was like, you may not like realize it, but like if you're unsure if a dog wants to be pet, maybe pet it for a couple seconds and then stop and observe how it reacts. If it moves away after that, it probably allowed you to pet it but didn't really want to be pet. If it looks at you or paws at you to keep going, that is full enthusiastic consent that it likes what you're doing. And that kind of just like changed my way of thinking about those interactions, right? Because like everybody wants to go up to on the street to the dog and pet it, but not every dog is comfortable with people coming up to it. And a lot of them are trained to accept it anyway because they don't really have a choice in the matter. But if you give them the choice, they'll tell you exactly what they want. And so like, I do a lot of pet sitting now, and I use that very, I use that often. Like, I'll like do something, I'll be like, you comfortable with this? And if I can see the signs of the dog being comfortable, or cat or whatever other animal being comfortable with that, then I'll be like, cool, we're cool to continue. Yeah, let's cuddle. Let's do all that because I can tell that you also want this. I'm not gonna like force a scared dog that doesn't really like me that much, but I'm, here to babysit it to interact with me on that level. If it doesn't want to, I'll give it its space. I'll give it something so that it can like, have its mental exercise. But if it's not comfortable being my best buddy in the world right away, that's only reasonable, right? Like just like children, just like people, some people want to be with people all the time. Some people don't really want to be with people all the time. Some people are big huggers. Some people don't want to be hugged. And animals are all like that too, but we don't always listen to them when they give us those signals. So I really try to extend that to them as well.
Yeah, and I love that. As a cat dad, and as a person who's always had cats around, that's also very prevalent too. Cats will tell you like, hey, no, don't with me right now. Like I don't want to be touched. Get away from me. I don't want anything to do with you. So I constantly practice that exact same thing. I extend my hand out to my cat that I've had, for its entire life still. And it's like, do you want a pet? Do you want some scratches? Yes, no? Okay. All right. See you later. Or, I'm just sitting down playing a game, watching something, and I just hear from like the bathroom, and then I see him freaking zoom by, and then he stops and looks at me, and then he goes again, and I'm like, okay, so you want to play? Gotcha. Like
yeah. And I think that it's personally pretty amazing that despite not speaking our language, how good dogs and cats are at communicating with us, because they've learned that we can't speak their language really. And so they get really good at speaking our language. And I think that's a sign of intelligence that is way higher than, some people that I know.
Yeah. To try and tie this amazing conversation back to Pokemon, and then eventually get to the decks, right? So can you tell me, do you have a particular game or generation that holds a special place in your heart?
Oh, sure. Yeah, like for me, man, Pokemon just rules. I love all Pokemon. I mean, I started with Red and Blue, Red specifically. Yeah. Love that. But I truly think that the second generation of Pokemon games is an absolute masterpiece. A 10 out of 10. Completely so good. It's got such a good art direction. It kind of like it's it's Pokemon, the creatures that you know and love, but there's a little bit more of like a cultural. They explored a little bit more into the cultural aspect of Pokemon in the Johto region. The Johto region is like very much, there's lots of art. The cities have a very like specific flavor to them.
Ecruteak is a great example.
Yes, yeah, Ecruteak City is a great example with like the Burn Tower and the Tin Tower and the lore all behind that. It really kind of like solidified this kind of, and like honestly, though I was too young to kind of like understand this, it very much speaks to Japanese culture, and it really like goes harder into that than I think the Kanto region does. It's a little bit more like bringing like the old. Just bring like the old architecture and the old old art styles, like exploring ruins, like stories that change over time, legends and things like that. I really think that is just like it's just such a solid game. The new Pokemon are fantastic. It's just like it's awesome. Heart Gold and Soul Silver then also through that note, also extremely good, beautiful remakes of those games. So those ones definitely are, I would say, in the main series of Pokemon, my favorite. But I think that the game that is most close and dear to my heart is N64 Pokemon Snap. 100%. I have been learning to speedrun it lately, and that's and the reason I did that was because I was like, I know every frame of Pokemon Snap. I've played it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Maybe I should just look up a speedrun and see how it would be. And I looked up a speedrun, I saw the world record, and I was like, nothing in this is too hard for me. I could do this. I know I could. And so I've been practicing, and I've shaved some good time off. I'm not close to the world record yet, but I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility for me to at least get close to that. But yeah, Pokemon Snap I think was is one of the closest and dearest games to my heart. I loved it because it was, I think, one of the first times that Pokemon were rendered 3D in their natural habitats. We had Pokemon Stadium, but that was still more battle focused. This was Pokemon in their natural habitats. You just look at it, you take the pictures, and you're able to see them in a light that that we hadn't really gotten to see before. Playing, walking around. I mean, I guess there was the anime too, but this was more of like there's no people here. All there is Pokemon existing as they would out in the wild, and all you got to do is watch. And like that just totally captured my imagination. Love Pokemon Snap. I love the new Pokemon Snap as well. Excellent games.
Yeah, man. Pokemon Snap has this wonderful magic of showing the pure nature, I guess, aspect of Pokemon. You're right, we do see bits of it in the anime, but that's more catered towards specific Pokemon. Like, for example, the Quagsire episode, like taking orbs, and there's the moon, like there's that whole thing. Their whole little ritual or whatever. But for Pokemon Snap, it's showcasing the ecosystems of multiple Pokemons living together, and seeing how they react to different things, to different environments and stuff like that, without human activity at all. So it's a wonderful, magical thing, and then seeing it in HD, and exploring even more biomes and ecosystems in new Pokemon Snap. When I found out Lugia was in that game, I didn't stop to like take that path and like see the majestic Sea Leviathan awaken. So cool. Oh my god. So yeah, my first console ever was the Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness Special Edition GameCube. So therefore Pokemon XD was my first Pokemon game. And I was like, I don't know, whenever it came out, like what, I was like 7, I don't know. I was young enough to be dumb enough to not read and understand what's going on, so I would just replay the same thing over and over again. So
as a young dumb kid does.
Exactly. So my first real Pokemon game that I ventured was Soul Silver, and it's my absolute favorite game in the series. One of my favorite games ever. And right there, that's my starter.
There he is,
Totodile,
Totodile.
Crocodile for alligator. It's my first real Pokemon, and therefore my favorites. And the reason why I love Lugia so much, maybe it has to do with Pokemon XD, but also that's my first legendary ever. So these two, or the Totodile line and Lugia, have always been my number 1 and number 2 favorite Pokemon. And I still have, here's another crazy thing, I still have those exact same Pokemon, this exact same for Alligator and Lugia, all the way from Soul Silver in Violet. And
It's great, right? I'm so grateful that they implemented that.
Right?
And I know that was important to the developers of Pokemon, like being able to like take those Pokemon with you, because there really is, when you're playing Pokemon games, it goes beyond just like, oh my guys, like you create like a canon. Like when I'm playing a game, like I imagine myself out there with my guys, like, you know, like giving them hugs, giving them treats, you know, like, you know, when they faint, I get sad, you know, like I have like a whole headcanon and a whole teams of Pokemon that have stuck with me throughout the years, that when I catch them in different games, I'll nickname them the same thing. And I'll be like, no, this is the same, like in my mind, it's the same one, like for sure. And like that stuff really, it's, I think that it sticks with you a little bit more than, you know, say, like, you know, another like monster catching game, Monster Rancher or whatever you want to say, because of the true like focus that Pokemon always has on, these are your very best friends in the world. Yeah. Like they're always very, very careful to make that the centerpiece and the focus of the game. And I think that is just like a testament to the design of it. You know, it is still like the biggest monster catching game ever that has ever existed. And like that's the reason. And everybody has like their team. Like, these are my guys. This is my team. And there's so many of them that you can really customize it to kind of like any type of person. And so it has very wide appeal that way.
Yeah, it's a big piggyback off of you know, your own canon. You know, the my Feraligatr and my Lugia, I've entered them in the Pokeathlon, for example, right? And they have those ribbons. They have these ribbons from all the other games I transferred them to, and you know, these specific Pokemon, I've went through these specific events and challenges towards, and that still adds on to the sentimentalness of it all.
Yeah. And like in that way, they are very much like pets. Yeah. They're, you know, very much like virtual pets, much more than in like
Tamagotchi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you know, it's like, but yeah, you do really develop a more a bond with them that is real, even though they are digital. Like, you start to think of them in a way that like makes them more real to you in your mind's eye. And I think that's great. I think it's fun. I think that's only a positive. Really. Yes.
So, all that said, can you tell me the story of you and Alex making your own show, The Dex?
Yeah. So, yeah, for many years, Alex and I did the educational Pokemon YouTube series called The National Dex, which was a show about trivia and battle strategy for a different Pokemon each week, little spotlight. It was inspired, obviously, by like TV shows from our childhood, like Bill Nye the Science Guy, and you know, things of that nature, Planet Earth, like all that stuff. Alex and I've known him for so long. Like, before we even started dating, we were good friends. We were on the same improv team, and when the reason we started talking about Pokemon was when Diamond and Pearl came out. So that's how long we've known each other. And so we just kind of started talking about Pokemon. I was like, oh yeah, finally somebody who knows as much about this as I do. But whereas I was always kind of more on the design, the breeding, the collection aspect of it, Alex was way more into the battling aspect of it. And so we had a really good knowledge set together pretty much about all things Pokemon. And people just started coming to us and asking us anytime they needed something. They're like, well, either Alex or Kelz will know the answer to this question. So like, might as well ask them. And so eventually, my friend Mike approached me and was like, hey, you want to, what do you think of maybe doing a show where you guys talk about Pokemon? We're like, okay, yeah, sounds good. And so I was like, yeah, I'll do it, whatever. And so, yeah, we kind of developed this show with that in mind. Like, you know, I'd be the trivia person, he'd be the battle strategy person, and that we would, you know, kind of like develop that and do it. And it was a pretty novel idea at the time, and it took off pretty well. Yeah. And I was surprised because I never I wasn't in that wasn't like my intention or anything like that. I never intended to like have a pretty successful YouTube show or anything like that.
You just
That's
wanted
like
to do it for fun.
That's not where I thought that I was going, but I was like, this is fun. I'm just going to keep doing this. This is great. And it really developed into something really special. We did the National Dex, and then we started the Dex podcast, which kind of like was like a news recap podcast. And I didn't even know this until recently, but it was one of the biggest Pokemon podcasts that it has ever been. And I had no idea. I didn't really realize that, because for me, it was just like something that I was talking about passionately. And I was like excited that people liked it, but like I didn't really understand the scale of that all until we started doing like convention appearances and things like that. And I got so many wonderful opportunities through that show to be able to travel and go to some of the Pokemon Worlds events and go, have like not like a very close relationship with the Pokemon Company, but at least enough of that they like during, I think at the height of the Dex, they would like send us some previews on things and things like that, which was just like never anywhere that I thought that I would be. And I am so grateful for the amount of things that I was able to do and see, and some of the people that I was able to meet because of that show. And I'm just like really honored that I was able to like do that and that people liked it. It's always like, a big risk when you're putting out something like artistically. We had it kind of like down to a science, really. Like we did one every week. I would send that research off to Alex. He'd write the battle strategy. We would kind of collab on the script a little bit. We would look at the script, be cool. We'd go on Wednesday. We would film it. And then, and just continue to put that out. And it just, I think probably like one of the most wild things about, I don't know if this is going to come across as a humble brag, but we got to go to a convention in Norway, and one of the guests at that convention was Charles Martinet. And through who knows why, through some amazing stroke of luck, we went on a hike in the Norwegian woods with Charles Martinet. And at the top of the mountain, he did his Parthenax voice. And I love Skyrim. And I was like, I'm dying right now. I am in the woods with Charles Martinet. He is doing Parthenax. Just 10 minutes ago, he was doing his Mario voice. I don't know how I'm here, but this is absolutely amazing. And moments like that, like, I have no idea. Like, it just kind of happened, and I'm super, super grateful for it. And it was amazing. It was really, really amazing.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Oh my God. And all through your guys' love for Pokemon. Like on paper, that story's like, tell somebody who doesn't play video games that exact thing. Like, hey, I like this video game so much that I talk about it, and then I get to do all this cool stuff. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? What? It doesn't make sense. But that's amazing. Oh my God. And this is where I'm going to take the opportunity to gush a little bit. Not only were the decks and the Dex podcast, a major part in the overall Pokemon community, but you guys have played a major part in so many people's lives, I'm sure, but I can only speak upon mine. I gushed about this to Alex when he was on, and I'm going to do the same thing to you. I was starting to watch the show when I was in middle school. I remember every week, every time you guys release a new episode, I would wake up, get ready for school, and like I had a good 10 minutes of like downtime, like while eating breakfast or whatever, like before I had to leave to go to the bus to go to school. And I would spend those 10 minutes watching the decks every morning. I wasn't there from the very beginning, so it was great to have a backlog to get through every morning, and there's always something new. So I eventually caught up. There we go. Cool. And I was already into Pokemon by this time. Like I said, I was playing Soul Silver already, and I've already picked up Black and White and stuff like that. So cool. I'm already into this. So I saw this like scrolling YouTube, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see this one Pokemon. I can't tell you what was like the first episode I clicked on. Maybe if I scroll back far enough on YouTube, I could find it.
History.
Yeah, maybe I could tell you, but whatever it was, it got me hooked because, I'm also big on finding learning about the trivia of Pokemon, like the origin designs of like the visuals, the looks, like why is this Pokemon the way it is? And, I've always leaned more towards that than battling. Battling has always been kind of rough with me, but I still try my best to do that thanks to Alex's tips. So watching the decks for the longest time, and alongside I was watching Nate Wants to Battle and his videos, that led me to, of course, on the YouTube suggestion stuff, led me to the Completionist, led me to Gerard, led me to the Super Beard Brothers, and that just snowballed into me like learning about the beautiful world of video games, period, as a whole. And it just snowballed into like, it really helped me become who I am today, as weird as that might sound. But like, my love for Pokemon came from you guys. My I think the word is ideal or methodology of how I play video games comes from Gerard, and the way I even run this show comes from how Alex runs Beard Bros and stuff like that. Like, there's so much stuff from these 3 shows by itself that has played an important role in my life. So yeah, just
I don't think it's weird at all, actually. I think that's kind of exactly what we wanted to do. Just as a person in my life, the concept of community is really important to me. And especially right now in this age of the internet, we have a lot of pseudo community. Unfortunately, like, there's like a lot of, there's a lot of places that you can go on the internet to like find people with your like mind, but there's not a lot like I find in myself that there is a little bit of a lack of like in-person connection and things like that. And one of the things that I really strive for is in my life in general, it's very important to me to make other people feel like they're not weird, that it's cool that they liked what they like, that there are a lot of people that also like what they like, no matter what it is, and that you're never alone in that kind of a thing. Because there can be a lot of isolation in hobbies, and especially because there's a lot of vitriol out there too. It's really easy to argue on the internet with strangers who don't care about you. But there is also the other side of that, which is like the positive aspects of community, where we all come together and we talk about things that we like, and then we talk about things that we're super passionate about, and sharing the passion and sharing those journeys is really, really special. And I mean, like you, there were tons of shows that I watched that were super instrumental to me. I'm a huge podcast listener. I love to listen to podcasts. I do a lot of like driving and a lot of like walking for work. And so I'm always listening to podcasts. And there are a huge amount of podcasts that I listen to where I've heard these people speak for hundreds and hundreds of hours. I've never met them. I don't know them, but I know a lot about them, because as you listen to people, they just reveal things about their lives. And so you do get like you do get a very good sense of that. Yeah. And those things do kind of like rub off on you. And I think that it's really, I'm really honored when people say that I was influential into how they've decided to live their lives, because I don't think that I'm, particularly any more special than anybody else in the world. And in fact, sometimes the idea of being known on the internet kind of freaks me out, and I don't love it. But the stuff that I try to focus on is like, if I have convinced one person to approach their life with a little bit more kindness and a little bit more understanding, and following their passions and their loves rather than their grievances and their anger, then I've done what I needed to do on this earth. And so when I hear people say that like they liked my shows and they really like, or they like really resonated with something that we said, I'm trying to put out that vibe of acceptance all the time, and hearing that it is picked up even by just one person is really, really special to me as well. So no, I don't think that's weird at all. In fact, I'm really happy to have played a part, and thank you for also being a part of that community, because like without the people that watched it, we wouldn't have been anything. Right. And I like to talk to them. I love to talk to people about Pokemon, obviously. I love to talk to people that are just as like ready for a deep dive as I am on that kind of a thing. And yeah, I think that it is, I don't know, especially with the sentimentality of Alex and I just having gotten married, a lot of the stuff that we were talking about, at our wedding was a sense of home, and making a home for everyone, and making sure that everybody had a place at the table and felt okay to say who they are and what they like. And that has always been so important to me. And so, yeah, hearing that is just is great. It makes me feel like maybe I might have done it in some certain way. So that's great.
Yeah. I totally understand what you mean. And when you shared that story about Charles Martinet, for example, right? Like that's also kind of the same feeling I'm having now. You know, how I had the same feeling I had with Alex being on the show, with Chugga Conroy being on the show before, you know, like, you know, I've had the amazing opportunity to, and this is, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I've had this amazing opportunity to talk to so many amazing freaking people. People I've air quotes known, right? I've known about, watched and grown up with for years. And, you know, like some of my favorite voice actors or whatever. And I think like to pay respects, I really think it strives or comes from watching the decks every week, every morning, and seeing how you and Alex are as a person or as people, and how you guys do your things, and like analyzing how you guys like make your shows and stuff like that. I was able to create this show out of, you know, nothing. I just had the crazy opportunity. And, you know, again, I'm not even trying to be like, I want to be like the next big podcast out there or whatever. No, I don't care about that. I just want to have cool, fun conversations with other people that are also cool and fun. You know what I mean? So when I say that the Dex has been, you know, like this launching point in my life, I really mean that. And I thank you so much. And it's also, there's also another level of like, since it's attached to Pokemon and what Pokemon means to me, it adds another level of emotions to it that I'm forever grateful for. Because even to this day, it is hard for me to not get choked up when listening to like the Pokemon soundtrack. Like, you know, I want to be the very best, like Pokemon theme, the, you know, to be a master or whatever, you know, we all live in a Pokemon world, like those classic songs, right? It's just, it hits me so hard because it's like a wave of happiness and kind of like security too. So that just like, I don't know, it all blends together with this feeling that I have. And, you know, for Pokemon and for you, Alex, your show that you've done for so long. And, you know, to prepare for this episode, to prepare for talking to you, I went back and started watching every episode of the Dex again.
That's very sweet.
I was, and while I was working, while I was at home, you guys were always on this past week, and I was like, oh my god, like every single time I was like having goosebumps. I was having a moment this entire week because I get to relive not only like moments I've had throughout my life watching you guys, but like also coming to the realization like, oh my god, I'm gonna talk to her at the end on Friday. What? This is crazy. This is like,
well, I think that just is kind of like, that kind of just speaks to it too, because it was just as special to us as it was to the people that were watching.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a beautiful thing. And like I always just keep kind of going back to like the community because it's wonderful. And there are a lot of like, you know, everyone over the years, you know, Pokemon has a kind of a reputation for its community being a little bit toxic in certain corners, but there's also a huge part of it that isn't, and filled with people who just absolutely love it, think it's adorable, think it's fun, it's very meaningful to them, it's very meaningful to me too. And like, yeah, being able to continue to like come together and have these conversations with people that are just as passionate about it, it really just creates a sense of like, yeah, I'm not weird for liking this. I'm not weird for being this into this. I'm not strange at all that this is important to me, because it's important to a lot of people, and we're all part of it, and that's
we
nice.
all live in a Pokemon world.
Pokemon. I want to be the greatest master of them all.
I wasn't even listening to that song today, but like it was playing in my head, and I made myself get goosebumps. Like that's how much Pokemon affects me, in just a deep level. Just like I get so emotional. Even watching like the new stuff, like Pokemon Horizons, like even this, it's a whole new structure. Like, oh my god, just seeing the last few episodes of Pokemon Journeys, Ultimate Journeys, when Ash, the final episodes, like it's the last few episodes of Ash, and I'm like, I'm in my mid-20s and I'm still crying over this shit. Like, what?
Though it is like at its base level, it's a franchise and a very popular intellectual property. But there's so much more in there. It is so deep and rich, and it's meaningful. It's so meaningful. It's so meaningful to so many people. And the deeper you dive into it, the more that you see that. There's still tons of people out there in the world that are like, Pokemon, aren't you a little old for that? But they, what they are not seeing about it is the amount of community and the amount of people that have come together over it, and what that has created. And that is so exciting, so cool. There are real creatures out there in the world that are named after Pokemon.
Yes. It's crazy.
The worlds are blending. Yeah, it's awesome. It's much bigger than just a game or like a company. It's also kind of like an idea of a world that I think a lot of people that really love Pokemon would like to see. And so I think it's great. I think it's all fantastic.
Have you ever attended, I'm sure you have, a Pokemon Symphony Orchestra?
Yes. Oh, it was awesome.
Right?
At the Hollywood Bowl. It was either at the Hollywood Bowl or the Greek. I can't remember which one. But it was amazing. It was so cool. I particularly loved the Ecruteak City orchestration. It was gorgeous. That was very, very emotional. I'm a pretty easy crier. Like, I will even I'm known to cry even describing the events of Final Fantasy 15. So like if something touched me emotionally, if I describe it to someone, I will break down and cry. So I'm an easy crier, but I'm fully accepting of that because it's just emotional. It's meaningful to me. And I think that if it's meaningful, then it's real. And meaning for what is meaningful to some people and not to others, it doesn't matter, because if something is meaningful to you, you can't fake that. It just is. So seeing the Pokemon Symphony was amazing. Cried a lot. Really just exciting. And I love orchestra, like orchestrated music in a general sense, because I just think it's really awesome to see like 50 people doing something all together, and it sounds so amazing. I mean, like, look at me, I'm describing music right now. but it's amazing. It's cool. Like, can you imagine what beautiful sounds we all make together, and they're so good at it. It's I'm always blown away. I love music.
That was my first ever like live music performance thing, like getting to see one, like my first concert basically. And I still have my tickets too. I can't ever get over, they ended the show by playing an instrumental version of the Pokemon theme, and they had the video up of the theme playing, and it was up to the audience to sing the words, and hundreds of people at the same time singing this about a freaking anime, based on a video game. Tears, bawling, God.
It's more than that. It's way more than that. It's not that. It's the feeling that all these people had that experience. It's not just you. It's everyone that had that experience. We all love it so much. And seeing that all together, it's validating. You're like, oh my God, yes, I love this. And all of these people love this. It is worth being loved. And it makes my time and experience with this thing, Pokemon, worth it. Yeah.
I'm trying my hardest not to cry right now.
Oh,
like this
what? It's okay if you did. I'm very accepting of the crying.
Like this is the most, or one of the few times where I've gotten like really emotional just talking about this thing, that I'm like trying to pull back tears. Let's start moving on, and to get to the speed round, I'm gonna touch upon some other things that you've been on, that you've done, and we'll get through them. So
okay, sounds good.
Let's take some time and talk about, as of recording, one of your most recent voice acting roles on the video game, on the indie game. Elsie, you voiced the character Trishula, and
Yes.
I had on the show we had the amazing opportunity from Playtonics and Night Shift Games to have early access to Elsie and to review it, and we also had the pleasure of interviewing some of the devs from Night Shift Games. A lot of Miami love going on here. We loved every single bit of it, and hopefully by the time this episode comes out, I should have this done. I should have platinumed the game. I'm still working on it. But I remember in the episode with Pedro, he asked me what my favorite boss was, and hands down, I said you're the boss you voiced, Trishula, because just
really?
cool it
I'm
is.
so excited
Yeah,
about that.
all the like tundra bosses are awesome to me because like the walrus is just like a funny bit. Like that's a Mega Man boss right there for sure.
Yeah.
The big robot dude, that's just super cool. And then Trishula, like I think she was the most interesting guardian robot master or whatever. So I wanted to ask you, what was your process developing the voice for this character, and were there any challenges you faced bringing this to life?
It was a really fun day of recording because all the recording was done on one day. It was like a one session thing, and I was in the recording studio with like an iPad with the devs on, and seeing their little faces or their icons in some cases. And I had known that I was going to be playing this character, really excited because I was like, ice queen, I love a good ice, and she's sassy, she's kind of like mad, but also she's got dragons, and I'm like, this is so exciting, this is so me, I can't wait to do this. And so kind of like in developing the voice, there was a line, right? There was a line that I wanted to ride, which was, I have to capture the coldness of an android or like a non-fully human person, the coldness of them, but also like the fact that I feel and the fact that I am kind of angry at the situation, but still a part of it. It honestly, like, and I'm not saying that I bit this, but from Avengers, is her name Nova? Karen Gillan? It was kind of her. I was thinking about her, right? Because she's like Gamora's sister. She is
Nebula.
Angry. What? Oh, Nebula. That's right.
Yeah.
Nebula. Duh. Oh my God. So Nebula. So I was kind of like thinking about a character kind of like that, right? That she is angry and she's mean and she is hurt and she is taking her anger out, but she's not bad.
Yeah.
She's not evil, but she is closed off because she's hurt. And so like I kind of was thinking about that, and then trying to ride that line between a character that may change their mind a little bit about the whole situation as things go along. But honestly, the fun parts I think of doing that voice recording, and the guys were really great about like giving direction and being like, yeah, we want this line to be a little bit more like serious, or this one to be a little bit more casual. And yeah, we started off we kind of like developed the voice as we went along. Like I came in with a couple of ideas, and they're like, do you think we can make it like a little on the darker side, or we can make it a little bit on the, make this line a little bit more sarcastic rather than mean, and like that kind of stuff. And they gave really good direction, and I was having a lot of fun with it. The funnest part was the hit sounds of like, oh no, that kind of stuff. Super fun. But yeah, and then they were like, yeah, and then just kind of like do some ice puns. And I was like, oh, okay. That was especially fun because of my improv background. We would do a lot of on my improv team, we would do a lot of short form improv, which was like rapid fire puns and things like that. And so that was just super fun. And so like just trying to do like a whole bunch of trying not to do Mr. Freeze jokes, but similarly trying to make them my own. That was just like a whole lot of fun. And so yeah, as soon as I saw the art for the character, I was like, this is so awesome. I cannot wait to be this person. And I think that in a general sense, I have a reputation of being pretty bubbly and upbeat a lot of the time. So it was also really fun to play a more brooding, dark character. I like that a lot because I think in my neutral state, like I said, like when I was younger, I had kind of like an emo goth punk streak. I don't get to like show that face forward a whole lot of the time, but I really do relate to that still, like the kind of like angry at the world kind of vibe. And so I was really happy to bring that out in that character. And I think it's awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It is such a mind blow to like be playing something and being like, that's me? That's my voice. That's so wild. Yeah, it never gets old, but it's really fun. I had a great time working on it, and I'm super proud of it. I think that it's awesome. It looks great. It plays great. It's a fun game.
Yes, yes, it is. I do think that Trishula is by far my favorite. I already said this. My favorite character in the game, mainly because of that complexity you mentioned of like, yeah, she's not bad, but she kind of wants to like, not be a part of like this whole family drama situation at first, but then she's like, all right, I'll help or whatever. I do like when I started getting to that boss fight and hearing your voice lines and reading like what you were saying, that's when my ears perked up and I'm like, oh, it's getting interesting now. Okay. There's something more. There is a level of complexity, not only to this game, but to this character. There's something about this that's different from the rest of the cast, if you would, So I think you did an amazing job.
Thank you. Yeah. Trishula is not really fully ready to accept the events of the game without spoiling anything. She's not really fully to accept it. And so it takes her a little while, and she definitely voices, some dissenting opinions, but they're not necessarily, but at the same time, she's still part of that whole family. And so, it makes it a complicated thing for her, I think.
Yeah.
So it was exciting. It was exciting to play that. I'm glad that it came across, and I'm so happy that it again felt genuine. Because that's really all you want when you're doing a voice acting performance.
100%. All right, now let's get to the speed round where I'm going to ask you a bunch of silly random questions. We're going to see how you do. You ready?
Okay, yes.
All right. If you were the final boss in a video game, what would your title be?
Draconic Ice Wheel. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Final boss. Okay, so I'm thinking. So I've been playing a lot of Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie recently.
Yes, you have.
They always have like a title at the bottom, and so I think that it would be Kellz, Mysterious Draconic.
Okay.
I think it would have to be something like that. I don't know if that speaks exactly to it, but like I think that if I were a final boss, I would be more of like, I'm not powerful, I'm not strong, but I'm clever and I'm sneaky. And it would be maybe like Ninja Draconic or something like that.
Ninja Draconic. Ooh, I like that. Okay. What would your boss theme music be? And you can choose any song from anywhere, or you can always shout out Grant Kirkhope to make one.
Oh my God, please. I would just. Grant Kirkhope is such a good composer.
I know.
That dude is so good.
I know.
Is out of control good. That dude.
God.
That dude is so good that you don't even realize how good he is.
I know.
I was like, between Banjo-Kazooie's overworld theme and Banjo-Tooie's overworld theme, it's a modulation of the original theme.
Yeah.
It's not a backwards version of it, but it's kind of like a modulation kind of flipped on its head. He's very, very good. So yeah, I would love that.
He's one of the best. I've had Adam Gutman on the show recently. He's a big time music composer, and we even him and I were talking about how freaking great Grant is. Shout outs to you, Grant. Come on the show, man. Gosh, I've been trying to get him for so long. Like you have no idea. Anyways.
Okay, so yeah, I think that like any song makes the world so wide. Yeah. But I think well, now I can only think of the boss theme from Banjo-Tooie where it's like dun, dun, dun. But like really, sweeping something something like sweeping and kind of like mysterious and like I think we're gonna have to go towards the like a mysterious side. A specific song, I don't know. You know what is funny is that like even after listening to the episode that Alex was on, I was like thinking about it, and I had something at the time. It's completely left my brain, of course. But yeah, that or like let's see here. I think one song I can't get enough of is like KK Slider songs. So that could be another direction that we could go in this. Like instead of it being like a sweeping grand orchestral thing, maybe like so it would be so funny. Because you know what? I like to incorporate that humor in there too, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that especially, okay, here, I'm developing this now. I'm thinking about myself as a final boss, right? Because I'm like, where's my energy at? What kind of energy do I like to put out as a final boss? You play Paper Mario?
Of course.
You know Junior Troopa?
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters ever. He's so tenacious, so angry, I just love Junior Troopa. I think that it would probably be something like that. It's almost like Invader Zim, where he's like, I have all this anger, but it's cute. I think that's kind of maybe the type of boss that I could maybe embody. It's a boss that's like small, not very powerful, but trying so hard and so passionate and so angry. So maybe something like that. Maybe it would be Junior Troopas, where it's like, like that's a pretty good one too.
I love this. Oh my god, you're doing so good. If you were a superhero, what would your name be?
Ooh, it would be okay because my superhero power across the board would be animal speech.
Oh,
so
speech.
Yes.
You don't want to be like Beast Boy?
I mean, Beast Boy would be, yeah, I would love that. But really, the main thing that I want out of animal powers is to be able to talk to them.
Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah. So something Doolittle like.
Got it.
So I guess my superhero name would be something like, I don't know. I kind of want to incorporate Babble into it.
Ooh.
But is there an animal that kind of sounds like Babble? I don't know. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Something like an animal.
I like where this is going.
Yeah, I know. I like the X-Men a lot too. So I think something along those lines of like, you know, animal speech, maybe like decoder or I don't know, maybe like Twilight Bark or something. I know that's
Twilight
from
Bark,
Dalmatians, but but I think it's cool.
Yeah, man, I love it.
The Twilight Bark.
If you can live in the world of your favorite childhood show, movie, or video game, which one would it be and why?
Oh, I think we're all gonna know the answer to this one already. It would have to be Pokemon. I would live in Azalea Town. I would live in Azalea Town because I think that because it's just the perfect little biome. Like, right, you go through a cave to get there. It's kind of rural. It's kind of remote. It's deep in the forest. I love a forest. It's nearby an ocean to the south. And the Slowpokes are there. So like you get the Slowpoke well, all that. You got the cave nearby. Azalea Town theme song is like amazing.
Yes.
So I think that's where I would live. Definitely Azalea Town in Pokemon Gold and Silver.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's so hard not to pick Pokemon. It's just, God. Yeah. Which character from your childhood favorite show, movie, or game would you most like to have as a friend in real life?
Nightcrawler from X-Men Evolutions.
Ah. Specifically Evolutions.
Yeah, because again, like I said, they were teens in X-Men Evolutions, and so like, you know, like there was something about I mean, I like Nightcrawler in a general sense. I think he's a cool character, but like I think that it would be great to have a friend, not only a friend that is cool looking like Nightcrawler, like a blue demon dude that, you know, has got a forked tail and pointy ears and whatever, but also one that could be like, you can teleport us to 7-Eleven, let's get Slurpees right now. Like, would be so great. So
perfect for like the munchies.
Right?
Little side thing, just because it's my only big connection to X-Men Evolutions, I've had Michael Adam Thwait, the voice of Colossus from that show, on the show before.
How fun! That's great.
Yeah, right. So he's such a cool dude. Really nice guy.
Yeah, that's great. How fun.
If your current favorite show or movie were to be adapted into a musical, what genre of music would you envision for it?
Oh my gosh, my current favorite show. Okay, so I guess, oh man. So I guess it would probably be Doctor Who. Because I just caught up with everything. Would it to be adapted into a musical? I mean, my favorite musical composer is Sondheim. Because Sondheim has an amazing way of using human voices more like instruments. And there's a great complexity to all of Sondheim's work. So I would love it to be Sondheim. However, I think maybe, genre of music for Doctor Who, it would probably be a little bit more. It would probably be a little bit more. You know what? Honestly, I want it to kind of like skew towards like 80s hair metal more, like like a little bit more like I said earlier, like kind of on like the schmaltzy dramatic side.
Yeah.
And because I think that works for Doctor Who in a big way. I mean, Doctor Who's been around for long before I lived. And so there's like a lot of it, but there's definitely like a flavor to it that's a little bit more like, you know, you got to go with space opera-y kind of thing for that sort of a thing. So I think, yeah, like I think it would be a lot like the musical Hair, like in its genre, if we were going to do a Doctor Who, you know, musical situation.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where, but I would love for Sondheim to write it. Rest in peace.
Understood.
One of the greatest musical composers that's ever lived.
If you could attend any fictional event, for example, the Ewok celebration in Return of the Jedi, which one would it be and why?
Oh, this is an interesting one. This is an exciting one.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say the Blitzball tournament at the beginning of Final Fantasy X, but then I remembered that's where Sin comes and destroys everyone. So maybe I don't want to attend that one specifically.
Only the first quarter.
Only the first quarter, and then I have to leave early because I have something else to do on my boat.
Yeah,
I'm way out to sea by the time that all happens. But yeah, maybe that. Maybe I don't know. What have I been playing lately? Maybe the I just want to actually, you know, the Journey, the game. I just want to. I know that's not like an event, but that game is so cool, and I would just love to live that in real life. Like, you know, trying to get through this like desert, and then somebody comes and just helps you wordlessly, and you just do it together, and like that. I think that I would love to attend something like that, or maybe the you know, maybe, you know, stuff in the Pokemon world. I would love to attend a championships, one of Ash's championships.
Oh, yes.
Like, come on. Like, can you imagine being in the crowds for that kind of stuff?
Oh my God.
That would be so tight.
Yes.
I would love to attend like an actual real world Pokemon tournament. In fact, like that's been like a kind of like a just like a speculative dream of mine for like a very long time, is like figuring out a way to use holograms. And you would like, back when I was thinking about this a lot, it was like in the 3DS era, but like plug your 3DS into like a podium and it projects your Pokemon hologram into a stadium, and then people could watch your Pokemon battle. Like that was like my $1 million idea for the longest time. And I'm like, I don't have any money to invest in this. I don't have any skills to be able to program this or anything like that. But it would be so cool if you could go to like a stadium, they could project your Pokemon having the battle in real time. That would be the coolest shit in the world. And I think, you know, maybe one day we'll kind of get to something close. You know, if Pokemon keeps up its streak of being one of the top franchises ever.
Right. Do we not have something close to that with like the AR stuff in Pokemon Go? Or is that just for photos?
Step towards it. I think that's a great step towards it. But I want, you know, to be able to see it with your eyes.
Yeah,
you know, like Tupac coming out.
Yeah.
As a hologram. Like that kind of thing I think could be so cool, especially for Pokemon competitive play. It would be so hype.
Yeah.
And also like a Dynamax fight. Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
Being in an actual stadium watching that? It would be so hype.
It would be so cool. Oh man. Now that's something worth like, oh God. Okay. If you can have a cameo appearance in any movie or TV show, which one would it be and what role would you play?
Oh, but give me, I'll be any Pokemon. Anyone. I'll do any Pokemon voice. Any single one, even the worst one. I don't care. I would love to. It is kind of my dream to do a like a non-human voice acting character. Like, you know, who knows, like a little animal or something like that. I am self-described as quite good at animal sounds. And one of my big inspirations was the dude that his name's escaping me, but the guy that played Appa and Momo in
D. Bradley Baker.
Yes, thank you.
D. Bradley Baker. God.
Yes. Thank you. And so yeah, his performances as those animals was iconic, and I would love to do that. I would absolutely love to do that. Pokemon, any game really. Like if I could be a little animal companion, I would crush that role. If you're listening out there, I will do it.
Yeah, Pokemon Company, we know you're listening for sure. And you would think, like, out of all the years of the decks of you mimicking the Pokemon cries, that's like a resume enough, you know? That's real enough.
Funny, you know, when that was not my idea, and I was resistant to it at first. I was like, people are gonna think this is dumb. Yeah. I was like, I think people are gonna think this is dumb. I think that it's gonna be embarrassing. And then I was so wrong. I was so wrong about that, and I grew to love it so much. It was very quick that my thoughts turned around on that. But when it was first suggested, I was like, I don't know about that. I think that's like a weird bit. And then after just like a couple episodes, I was like, yes. How can I do this? How can I make this sound? Because I think for anyone that's interested in voice acting, the process of making a sound, of making a strange sound and trying to figure out how you get your mouth and your vocal cords and your lungs to work in order to make that sound is a very exciting and fun part of that process. And so I think that I ended up having so much fun imitating those cries, like regardless of whether they were like more modernized or if they were like old and bit crunched, like trying to make those sounds with your mouth is just fun. It's just fun.
Yes. That's an interesting tidbit though. Like that's actually something I would always look forward to for the next episode. Like, or I see the thumbnail, I'm like, oh, it's freaking, I don't know, Shogun. I wonder how she's gonna do it. Let's see. You know, like I'll get excited for that. I'll look forward to it.
Yeah, and I think, making your voice unrecognizable as you is always an exciting thing too. Like, especially like, I think that in some ways you can probably hear me in Trishula, but I think it doesn't sound very much like me.
No, it doesn't. It's really hard to tell, in my opinion.
And I find that fun. I find that exciting, and I think it's fun. And I think that I've always been kind of like a playful imitator, not of like people. I try to draw that line because some people are very offended by that sort of thing. But I love when I hear an accent, trying it out myself and really trying to like lean into it. And like, how do I do these vowels and what does it turn into? And then when like, how can I imitate this in a way that sounds more real? And how far away from it can I get from my natural speaking voice? Always a fun challenge.
Have you played Pokemon Channel?
No.
Oh wow, this is also one of the first like games I've had on the GameCube.
You know what, GameCube, I skipped that console because we only were able to have one, and it was either a GameCube or a PlayStation 2. And PlayStation 2 won out because it played DVDs.
Fair. No, that's totally legit. Pokemon Channel, quick notes. It's you move into a new house and you have a TV, and then there's a wild Pikachu that like comes in and he's like, "Hey bro, what's up? You want to watch TV together? Cool. Here's like, I'm gonna zap the TV real quick. You get a new channel." Or like a Magnemite will like bring a new channel. Let's watch TV to get more channel. And there's multiple different types of things you can watch. Like there's a trivia channel. There's like a shopping channel that you can buy like cute little things for to decorate your room. And then you eventually like explore more areas outside of like your house. You get to go to like, these woods or like out to your backyard and like meet other Pokemon. It's like really, it's really cool and really interesting.
I would have eaten that up, yeah.
So the reason why I bring it up is in the trivia channel, there's this show hosted by Wobbuffet, and it's Guess That Pokemon Cry. And
I ace it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the Pokemon's inside this capsule tube thing, and it like moves, and you can only see like a little bit through it every time, and the cry will keep playing. You have to guess who it is.
Oh,
really fun thing, and that's just reminded me of it.
Totally, absolutely, that's great.
Yeah, Pokemon Channel, man. That's worth a good hour or two to play, I think.
All right, yeah. Easy. I think it's easy enough to probably like find at least a way to play it for a little bit.
Yeah. All right. If you had to guess, what would you say is the song you've listened to the most times in your life?
Man, if it would, I tend to like, I tend to, when I get really into a song, play it on repeat tons.
Yeah.
And so I think probably one of the most ones is No One Is Alone from Into the Woods. It's probably one that is up there because I really love the harmonies in it and I really love singing along to it. I also am really into this band called Man Man.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a song called Taste Like Metal. That's just a bop, but I've listened to it hundreds and hundreds of times. In my life, though, in my whole life,
yeah,
it's embarrassing, but I think it's Defying Gravity. I know it's quite overplayed, and you know what? And I know that the movie is coming out, and I'm actually a little bit mad that they're making it 2 parts because I don't think that it needs to be. I don't know. I think I have strong opinions on length of movies.
Right.
I come from a generation where the movies were 80 to 90 minutes long, and now 3.5-hour movies I just cannot abide by.
Yeah.
And I think that if you were unable to tell the story in like a 1 movie setting, then you've put in a lot of unnecessary stuff. But that's just my opinion, I think that there's plenty of ways to enjoy media and things like that. But like I don't like it when movies are too long, and I don't like it especially when they break up a story into multiple movies that didn't need to be broken up. And I don't think that Wicked is one of those ones. I think they could have done it in 1, and they probably should have. But I'm still gonna see it. Duh.
Understood. What activities or pursuits most make you lose track of time?
Crafts, I would say. Yeah. Because video games are fun. They occupy a niche, but especially like types of video game that I do right now, learning how to speedrun Pokemon Snap, I don't lose track of time because I'm speedrunning it, so I know exactly how long I'm playing.
Fair.
But when I'm doing like a craft or whatever, I like sculpting. I do a lot of like miniature sculpting, especially, which makes me really focuses me right in. Like I can't tell you like how zen of an activity it is. Just like being like, okay, I'm gonna make Charmander, but he's going to be only a centimeter tall. Like, just it kind of almost puts like a little bubble around the entire world while you're like making this thing, and you focus in on it, and you really just like you completely lose your time. Like you just you're making it and you're like, oh yeah, this is going well, like this is really cool, and I'll look up and it'll be like, oh, it's night.
Yeah.
And I think crafting and doing things with my hands, I really love to do a lot of like mixed media artwork and stuff, like with like fake flowers or sometimes real flowers, and like glass or like found objects, very goblin-y. And so I love making like little scenes, little worlds and things like that on a small scale. And it really just completely turns off pretty much everything that's happening, and like is a very good activity for focusing.
Gotcha. Yeah, that just reminded me, you have, or I don't know if you still have, but an Etsy shop where you sell these like little miniature Pokemons like inside like a thing.
Yeah, they're miniature Pokemon sculptures inside of bottles, and the bottles are very small as well. They're I would say like maybe like 1 to 2 inches tall. The openings in the bottles are about 1 centimeter, which is why I said 1 centimeter Charmander, because like that's, if you can't get it in the bottle, you can't get it in the bottle. So yeah, I make these little bottles, like put little like fake grass and stuff, and then make a little home for the Pokemon. And it's almost always Pokemon, though I do, just like regular animals, sometimes on request, etc. And yeah, that's an activity that's super, super mindful and super focusing, and great, because it's just like, yeah, your world, you're making a tiny world, and the world becomes that small for just while you're making it.
Yeah.
And so I do that kind of like in spare time. And yeah, the reason I started the Etsy store is because I kept on making them, and then I was like, I don't have enough room to store all these. So I was like, I better start just like, getting them out of my house, because like I like them and they're fun and I love to make them most of all, but I don't really need to have 400 of these. That might be an exaggeration. 400 is quite an exaggeration, but like, lots. I've made lots of them, because like, especially on a small scale too, like I'll have extra of the clay color that I had to mix up for it. So I'll be like, well, I guess I'm going to have to make 10 more of these.
Right. Yeah, I get you. I love it. Yeah. All right. Well, it is now time for you to recommend 3 people that when your episode comes out, you'll share this with, and that you think they'll be a good guest on the show, and that you're going to help me get them on the show.
Okay. So I have a couple people in mind, and a lot of them are from the improv side of my world.
Cool.
But are really cool people in their own right, interesting with interesting perspectives on things like music and video games. The first person is Scott Brzee, who's a really great artist and he's an artist and he's a songwriter, and he is also a comedian, and he's really great. He's really funny, and he has I've been friends with him for like 20 years, and he has a really interesting and amazing perspective on music. And he and then kind of on that note, there is a former sketch group called the Bath Boys Comedy, and my other guests are from that. That'd be Tyler Phillips and Kurt Maloney. very funny people in their own right. Tyler is a childhood friend, and he is an excellent drummer, really cool person in general, and I think he'd be just like great to have on the show because he's just really funny. They're all improv people too, so they're all like really I don't know, I think improv kind of gives you a superpower of being able to like talk really in depth about subjects for a long time. So he's really funny. And then Kurt Maloney is a stand-up comedian in LA who is on Dropout comedy every once in a while on some of those shows, which are really super, super funny. I think he would be a great guest too, because he's just I don't know, just a super funny guy, really solid comedian, great improviser, great person. I think these guys would be great for the show because I think they've got a lot of cool things to say about music and gaming and all that. I think that would be a cool vibe.
Hell yeah. That's what we're here for. We're here for the vibes. Thank you so much for those recommendations. We'll see what we can do to get them on the show, and I'm very much looking forward to talking to them. Do you have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts? Hey, out there, love each other. Follow your passions. Know that the things you like aren't weird. There are other people out there that like them too, and you don't have to base you don't have to base it on other people's opinions on what you like. You like what you like, and that's fine. That's I guess maybe that's my final thought.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much.
There's room for it all.
Yes, there is. Thank you so much, Kelly, for coming on the show. This has really been a dream come true talking to you, and I've had the best of time. So thank you so much for all you do, for the wonderful messages that you just exude and that you talk about. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a really good time. I always love diving into stuff like this, so I really appreciate the opportunity to be here too. It was great.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. If you want to hear more from Kelly, be sure to follow her on Instagram, X, and Blue Sky. Links to everything will be in the description down below. Be sure to let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Razzle Dazzle Show, on TikTok at Razzle_Dazzle_Show, on Blue Sky at Razdaz Show Pod, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Raz_Daz_Pod. Be sure to rate us 5 stars and leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one. Next time on The Razzle Dazzle Show.
I really love frogs. Like, I grew up, like, frogs were my best friends. I was playing with them all the time. I would kiss them. Like, I'm serious. I would kiss frogs because I love them. I tried to pet them. You know, frogs and toads. They were like, I have so many pictures of myself with like a bunch of frogs and toads when I was younger. And in terms of, like morals and like, I love doing like the courage quote, courage need not be remembered, for it is never forgotten. There's so many people with whom that quote resonates. So it's really fun for me to go around and feel like I can be a smiling face and a voice for people at various places, in various places in the world who want to just basically celebrate the franchise, celebrate that character, and then they can kind of come to me and say what they love about the character and come up with quotes of their own that they enjoy. But a lot of people really like that quote, and we're all looking for the same qualities that, she just gets basically flogged in that game. Like, she is such a hard protagonist. There's so much that comes at her. It's so hard. And she's somehow able to persist and follow through and conjure things within herself that are incredible. And we all wish for that kind of, not just courage and power, but certainly wisdom that comes from that sort of experience of hardships in a way, like where you can come out the other end of it and feel hopeful.
Yeah.
I take those things. She's such a great archetypal character and beyond. It's so great that she's fleshed out.
Tune in next week.